monthly Yardley Borough Sewer Authority, September 9th, 2020. I will take a motion to approve the minutes of the previous meeting.
Second.
Who's that, Michael? Motion. I'll make the motion. Michael seconded it. Although, anybody got any questions or comments about it? The minutes? If not, all those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
None opposed. Motion passes unanimous. With that, Rich, you and Carl got anything from the committee report?
No.
Okay. And Cheryl, you might as well just jump right on in then.
Okay. Everybody should have gotten the financial reports. Delinquent list, which is looking pretty good.
I do have an update on that.
Mm-hmm.
On the delinquent list.
Yeah, there's actually, it was printed out on the 4th of September, but there's been a few big payments then, right?
Well, late today, right before I left, Brian Garlitz called and he emailed over a letter and supporting backup, and you know, it was too late to really get it all distributed for tonight, so we'll have to look at it again. But basically, he thinks they're entitled to a $6,000 credit for all the water from the leaking pipe that did not go down the sewer system. So anyway, I told him it would not be, you know, we wouldn't have much discussion tonight, but maybe next meeting.
Yeah, we have to look at that over time and figure out how long that's been going on.
Yeah, so he sent a lot of backup based on that consumption list I sent. But
What number is that on the? What number is that on the delinquent list?
Number one.
And he wants a
That's why
$6,000 credit?
Well, he's been not saying this because he's trying to get this resolved, but that's why he's letting the balance just sit there.
I did tell him today, I said he's got to make a good faith effort and start getting some payment in.
Yeah.
I'm just curious. How
Because
far back does this problem of his go that accrued $6,000 according to him?
Well, see, that's what we have to look at, because he's going to give us his, his numbers and where he thinks it started and what it should be and what it was. But we haven't really looked at that yet, because I don't know how long of a time period he's talking about.
Yeah.
But it might.
We gave the history, but we haven't been, I mean, we just got this response late today, so we'll have to compare.
Right.
Yeah.
Hey, my fear is he's going all the way back to when Bob White and Jeff Crane were collecting delinquents back in 2002 and 3, I think.
He has to, like, in my opinion, if he thought that there was a leak that was costing him so much money, then he should have had it fixed and not let it go on for years.
Okay, his property is on the west side of Morgan now. We're fed by he's got wells on each one. So I guess he's talking about the others. No, that's the west side.
Wouldn't be the well.
No, 110, I'm sorry, is the east side of Morgan. That's the one with the 4 units in it.
Supposedly there's a water pipe that goes from one building to another, and so that it was leaking underground.
All right, well, we'll see what happens when he comes up with some backup.
Yep.
But I just point out that I expected the delinquent list to look worse during this time, but people are trying to keep up, I think, so it's good.
Well, that's encouraging.
Yeah. Okay, and what else? We've got a bill list which totals $15,992.69.
Make a motion to approve the bill list for September 9th, 2020 for $15,992.69.
So moved.
Okay.
Motion's been made, properly second. Any other further discussions or comments on the bill list? All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. Motion passes unanimously. Okay,
Carl, did you just vote aye without actually hearing the motion?
I did.
Attaboy.
I'm only
Keep the
kidding.
ball rolling.
Retract that aye.
And, okay, so that's all for the financial reports. Oh, there's Carl.
just a quick question, and I meant to ask you this the other day, Cheryl. Did you ever get in touch with Judy Wisniewski in regards to that little?
Oh, you know what? I didn't.
Okay,
I didn't, but she, like a couple days after we talked,
yes.
she contacted me by email and said she did put the requisition through, you know.
But didn't bring anything up about enforcing that request from the other department or whatever?
No, I mean, she just emailed me and said, I was able to get that through, you know, but she made it sound like it was kind of a problem.
Just to fill everybody else in, the Bank of New York is saying that anytime we transfer money from the reserve account to the operating account, they want at least, what was it, two? They want two board members to, what, you explain it.
She was asking, the Bank of New York financial person was asked, that requisition that we've done many, many times, she was asking for two board members to,
Phone in or something, wasn't it?
she had to call them. She had to call two board members and, you know, to check and make sure that, and it couldn't be the two people that signed the requisition. So
Right.
it couldn't be Rich and it couldn't be Mike. I think you signed it, right? So it had to be two other board members. And and the problem, now I remember, the problem was she had to use the phone numbers that she had on file. And the only phone number she had on file for every board member was the office number.
Yeah.
So she had 215-493-2045, the office number for each person. And she said, well, that's the only number I can use. So it was a problem because I said, well, nobody's in the office except me. So you're going to get me if you call. And she said, no, I can't. And I said, well, I'll give you, you know, the other board member's cell phone. And she was not happy. She said, no, I can't take that from you. It has to be, you know, an official, what did she call it? It's something that we filled out years ago that had everybody's information on it. But I guess Carolyn just put the phone, you know, the office number for everybody, so she wasn't giving out everybody's phone number. So anyway, but then it turned out she did call Carl, right, Carl?
Yeah, so a guy called me.
So they did end up calling Carl after she said she couldn't. So it was kind of screwy, but.
So the reason I'm only bringing this up, and I know it's a little boring, but I anticipate some more problems, and I'd suggest to Cheryl that when she gets a chance to have a conversation with Judy Wisniewski, who is our trustee, and we've been doing this for years the same old way. Nothing's changed. We're not a big municipal authority, and just see what Judy has to say. And if Judy finally comes back and says, you know what, there's nothing I can do, my hands are tied, blah, 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 then we can talk further about, I don't know, changing banks as far as I'm concerned. It's kind of stupid because this is our money to begin with. All we're doing is transferring it.
And what she wants now is she wants me to give her a list of each board member and a phone number that they can be reached. And then it has to be signed by each board member. And I said, well, that's a little bit of a problem because I'm not seeing people in person, so I can't get signatures right now. But that's what she wants. And then that should.
The financial person, not Judy though, right?
No, it's Judy.
Judy wants that now?
Judy wants a list of each board member, their phone number that they can be reached so that they could be called when this happens again. and she needs each person's signature next to the line. And I said, well, you know, I can't do that overnight because getting signatures is not easy as it used to be.
Blake, Alan, or Brian, you got any suggestions on this situation? Because I don't think it's going to go away. Or should we just wait to see what happens next month or next quarter?
Yeah, I mean, I'll talk to her. I will call her. But that was, you know, that was the last conversation with her was that's what she needs from us. And I told her, well,
She needs that next time, or is she holding things up now?
no, she put that requisition through from last month. So she wasn't going to, but then she did.
Do we have, did she send anything, or is she saying to use whatever information the financial person did sent to us? Or before we do anything, I'd like to see something in writing from the Bank of New York requesting exactly what it is they want us to do.
Well, I know what she wants us to do, and she's got that paper already, but it's years old and it has the office number after each person. But it was signed by each board member. It was something that was done several years ago.
But they issued that piece of paper for us to fill out is originally, I guess.
Yeah.
Fine, they can issue a new one then. And when they issue that new one, then we'll discuss it further,
All right.
unless anybody else has any other feelings on it. I think it's a little BS because we've been dealing with this bank for as long as I've been around.
Yeah, I mean, that was the first I ever heard that they had to call, you know, it's signed, like you said, there's a resolution, it's signed by 2 board members. That was always good enough. So I don't know whether they're just heightening their security
And
measures.
if they have a change in their banking policy, that's fine. We want something in writing that says it's why they're requesting it.
All
And
right.
once we get that request, we will discuss it further,
All right.
unless anybody else
I will-
has any
I will
comments or objections.
I'll talk to her. I will call her.
All right. Where are we at?
So that's all for the financial reports.
Anything else, Cheryl?
Then I got my regular report, if you want me to do that.
Okay.
Operations Administrator report. So 19 customers received letters. So that's what I was saying. That's not too bad. The sewer certifications are picking up, so more properties are changing hands and buying and selling, and real estate market it's been really busy with properties changing hands. The Lower Makefield is current with their joint use payments to us. We received July's payment, so they just owe us for, I'm waiting to see what's gonna happen with that, because that should be a change when we no longer have to deal with Lower Makefield.
It's going to take over a year, isn't it?
I think we're gonna be talking about this in another 2 or 3 years at least.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm just doing what, you know, I'm just dealing with my, Greg Hucklebridge that I always deal with, and I send him the bills and he pays them, so. Let's see. So that's about all for my report. But I wanted to just throw in there that I did get another phone call from James Ferkel, the guy whose tree, you know, the tree that fell from the pump station, and he says it was, we determined it was his tree.
Mm-hmm.
So he's telling me on the phone, he found 2 concrete markers and he marked them off, and it's not our tree. And he says he's got it marked out and it's very close to the line, but it's still our tree and he wants us to take care of it. So
He wants us to do what? I'm sorry.
he wants us to get rid of the tree because he's saying that he found 2 concrete markers and he drew the line with tape, and it's on our property and he wants it gone.
I'm confused. I thought we got rid of the tree.
Well, that's what I thought, and I talked to Phil, and Phil started to cut it up, and his chainsaw broke. So he couldn't finish it. So he got part of it out of there, but the rest of it's still there. I thought it was gone too, but
Wait, I missed a step. When did we decide we were gonna cut it up even though it was on his property?
well,
Phil did it on his own.
Phil decided to just
initiative.
do it. But
Okay, well, you know, no good deed goes unpunished, right?
I know. So I don't know what to say because the guy's claiming that he marked it out.
Well, now that we started doing it, we're gonna have a real hard time arguing that it's his to deal with, so.
Yeah.
Just finish it up and, you know, make sure we know where the boundary is. And next time, you know, we'll do it this time, but next time he's got to know where his trees are.
Well, I mean, I don't see this being a federal case, but so to speak, but Blake, obviously, you know, we determined, you know, Brian did the legwork and determined that the tree was on his property, fell on his property. We voluntarily went out there to cut it, I guess, you know, out of goodwill to go ahead and cut it up and take it off of there. Do we want any kind of acknowledgement at this point from Mr. Ferkel that we're doing that on his property?
No, I don't think that it's a tree that, as I recall, was determined to be on his property, but at some point, I guess, the authority decided just to get rid of it. I think the best thing to do is just get rid of it. I mean, do we want to go out and check his markers to see where they are? I don't think so. So if Bill started it, I think the best thing to do would be just to finish it. I don't think it sets any.
I'm not arguing that. Yeah, now that he started, we can't turn back if we want to, and I'm not saying we want to. I was just saying, should the authority do anything to cover itself, just given the fact, you know, the guy comes back and says, hey, wait a minute, you were on my property without my permission. Hey, that nonsense.
I mean,
Did he see us on his property?
what's that?
Maybe he never saw anybody go on his property. Maybe we did it from our side, you know?
I think if it was, you know, a bigger issue,
The tree's on his property, so. Like,
It's laying there. I'm sure there's sawdust where the cuts were made. I mean, it's pretty obvious.
posters.
Oh, you got me. You busted me
He
out.
knows, he knows.
Phil to take.
No, I mean, you assume he knows what we're doing. He sees us, you know, that we're doing it. At some point, ideally, he's going to be grateful that we're doing it. I just didn't want the authority, you know, to be doing this guy solid and end up, you know, getting jammed up.
Yeah. And maybe we need to get someone, you know, in the business like a landscaper, because wasn't there some other things that needed to be done? Didn't Phil say there was some overhanging branches and so maybe,
Yeah, I had Bert Mott was going to do everything for like $500, $600.
yeah, 'cause there were some other things that
Nobody wanted to move on it.
get it all done at once.
Well, the reason we didn't want to move on it, Carl, was we had determined and agreed that it was on his property and we weren't going to do anything.
Right. He's got concrete markers to prove it. I'd like to see the concrete markers. I don't remember seeing any down
there's
there.
a monument. There's a monument right next to the brick building that's right next to your property, like 2 feet off of there.
You know what?
And it's shown on the plan that I sent to you guys. And I think I highlighted the actual tree.
Right. I know.
Yeah, you
He told
did.
me-
Yeah, no, you made perfectly clear. You did.
Yeah,
There's no
I
question.
If you even
I have
want to
no
show that
doubt.
to him. Whatever.
Anyway.
He told me he marked it with engineer's tape. What is that? He marked
What is it?
with
What's the
engineer's tape.
He's probably talking about like plastic flagging tape or something. I mean, you know, you're not going to win with this guy. When he wants the line to be closer to our property, he's going to say it's there. When he wants it to be closer to his property, so he gets more, you know, it's going to be playing this game. That's why, you know, at some point, I think you should kind of draw the line, no pun intended, and just be like, okay, definitively, this is where our property is. This is where, you know, you stay off ours, we'll stay off yours.
Anyway, Kenny Smith hauled the branches away for free. I told him to send us a bill for the extra work, but he never did. So maybe we could just have Kenny finish it up or Bert finish it up.
Yeah, Phil can, right? I mean, just to get it done.
Yeah.
Make a motion to allocate $500 or $600 to finish up that project. And get the rest of the trees trimmed in the driveway for the big trucks.
Did
Just
the
an
guy-
annual cleanup. It's been a couple years since we did any cleanup.
Carl, the guy that you talked to and offered the $500 to do the tree and the other cleanup you're referring to, is he giving us a quote on that? I mean, a written quote, or is that just a verbal, or what is that?
That was verbal.
All right, tell him to survey the thing again, Ferkel's tree, and what he's gonna do specifically. Put it down in a estimate and submit it to us, and we'll take care of it and get it done before the October meeting. And you can tell Mr. Ferkel that, Cheryl.
Okay, that's good. Because I did tell him we were meeting tonight and I would have something to tell him. Okay.
If that, I make a motion to accept this guy's bid, provided it's not over. Well, the tree's already down. He shouldn't be getting 500 for everything, unless you feel that's what he deserves, Carl.
I don't know. I don't know how to
what
respond to
trees
it.
he's
I don't respond to other people's work. I really don't know. I really don't know. I would think it's to come out with a crew for a few hours. 500 is very reasonable.
Well, you know what? I'm
And a
sorry.
chipper.
I'm not in any hurry to take care of this situation. I think we screwed it up from the beginning. We can solicit for a bid to have Ferkel's tree removed and specific trimming done on what Phil and Carl and Rich of the pump station committee agree upon. And we'll take that into consideration on the October meeting. And if an estimate is submitted, we'll vote on it then. I'm not overly concerned about rushing to Mr. Ferkel's request to have this done ASAP. Anybody else?
Oh, no. No.
Mr. Ferkel calls Cheryl, you can tell him we've discussed it, we're getting an estimate, and we'll take care of it eventually. But it ain't gonna happen that quickly, I can tell you that. Unless someone else objects to it,
Okay.
and any board member thinks it should be done differently. I think we screwed it up to begin with, but it's water over the dam. And I'm fearful that Alex might be right. You give this guy an inch, he's just gonna keep on taking a yard and then more. We've dealt with him enough. Not one of my,
He's a very annoying person, isn't he?
not one of my favorite ratepayers. But that's besides the point. All right? So,
Okay.
Carl, you can talk to your business associate that does the trees, and we can talk to Kenny Smith even. And if you want to, we can we'll deal with it we'll deal with it the October meeting as to whether to accept the estimate. Because Phil and Carl and Rich need to agree on what trees need to be trimmed to make it worth the while and to make the station look a lot more presentable as we go forward.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. And so are we going to talk about the budget later, or do you want to, is that later on the agenda?
Yeah, we'll do that at the end unless
Okay.
people want to talk about it now.
No, that's okay. And then, then I'm done with my report, except the only other thing is, and I think I'll let Brian talk about it because he probably might know a little bit more, but OCC did respond to Blake's letter. And they did send, they answered us, and then they sent someone out last week to work on the SCADA system. So I'm not sure exactly what he did, but Brian asked him to let him know what he did exactly. So I hope he did.
Brian, if you want to discuss that now, that'll be fine because you're going to be up next
Yeah.
anyway.
Yeah, now I was actually going to ask you, Cheryl, if they actually came. So I haven't, other than responding saying they would have someone come. I told Frank was asking about your office hours, and I said it's pretty much the same thing. So someone actually came to the office and did work at the station then?
They did, yep. He worked at the office and then he went into the pump station. He came back and forth a few times and
Okay,
he didn't really tell me what he was doing, but
okay.
I know you asked him to keep you informed, so.
Yeah, so did they work on the SCADA computer at the office there?
They did.
Because basically the one thing was, it was removing that Bob Alert system. I mean, it was deactivated from what I know. But then they were supposed to set a SCADA alarm for the phone line failure. So I wanted them to demonstrate and show you that, being in the office.
Yeah, I mean, he just did what he did and then he left. He didn't like go over anything with me or tell me if he was done.
Okay, I'll follow up with Frank then and ask him to actually, show us.
Okay.
He did, Cheryl, he did. Remember when he was down there and he called us to see what was on the screen?
Oh, yeah, he did do that. Yeah, he did something in the pump station and then he told us to look and make sure that it came up as a phone alarm or something.
Oh, okay. So he basically cut the power to the phone line, so the tripped alarm showed that the phone line was out at the pump station on your end.
That he did do that. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that's what we were looking for.
Okay, good.
They sent over, I guess, a revised O&M manual in a PDF format. Something we had already gotten in binders, I guess, at some point. So, we're okay there. And the last thing that we had asked for was a backup of the programming on a flash drive or something similar,
Right.
which wasn't necessarily in the contract work. It was something that we basically asked of them. So, they haven't specifically said anything about that.
So where do we stand with closing out the contract?
That was the only remaining item that we listed in the letter that Blake issued at the end of August. Was
There's two things.
so the actual physical work of that alarm, and then the other was providing a copy of the programming that they've done on a flash drive. So that would be the only outstanding item.
So then they've basically done what we requested in Blake's letter?
Well, one out of two things.
Yeah, one out of two things. But like I said, the second item was not contracted work. It was more of a request on our end. I think more for all the grief that we've gone through, and to have something for the future, for future use with, if another consultant's used.
All right, but they supplied us with everything that they were under contract for.
Pretty much, yeah. Yeah.
So I'll ask you, Blake, and then we're obligated now to pay them, right?
Well, the one thing in the letter, it may not be in the contract, but they agreed to provide a thumb drive, sometime in the past. I mean, are they going to provide that?
I'm sorry, I misunderstood you then, Brian. I thought you said they did do that.
No,
Oh no, they haven't.
they did not.
But it was not necessarily part of the contract work. It was
I know it
something
wasn't.
we were requesting.
I know it wasn't part of the contract, but they agreed to do it. We listed it. Let's get them to produce the thumb drive. I mean, they're not raising that as an issue that it wasn't part of the contract, are they?
Just to be clear, did they actually agree to do that? We asked for it in the letter. I don't know that they agreed to do it and it wasn't in the contract.
Correct. I don't know that they ever agreed to do it. They never said, no, we're not going to. So the first thing that we had asked was basically for them to do a backup, almost like a plug and play type thing, where they came back as probably going to run like $5,000. And I came to the board and we're like, we don't want to spend that. I don't think. Can they just give us a backup of the program that they did? So that's what we asked for. They never gave a price with it, but I don't think they ever said yes or no either way, but we've requested it, more than one time. And they've never responded saying no or saying, yeah, sure, we'll do that.
They never said that's a problem or we can't do it.
Good. I would ask them for it. The 30-day period runs, I think, the end of September. I would ask them if, we have one item left, the backup thumb drive, and if they raise an issue about it and push came to shove, we'd have to, maybe back down from it if it isn't part of the contract. But they don't seem to be objecting to it. Let's see if we can get it, and then we'll close it out and pay them.
Agreed.
We do have a figure that we've come up with that we kind of, everybody agrees on that we owe them, which is $6,365.
Say that again, Cheryl. It's
I said, we do have a figure that we all agree that's what's owed. It's $6,365.
They agreed to that too?
Yeah, they actually came up with slightly less, I think, when he contacted me months ago. But it's pretty close.
All right, so should G&A, should we go, or Brian, when I say us, I mean Brian, go ahead and reach out and make that one final request for that item?
I think so. And as Blake says, if they balk about it, how important is it to the authority that we have that? I don't know.
Well, we'd like,
Maybe ask them, if we're gonna ask them, we could put it that way and say, if it's something you can't do, then we need to know that, so we're not waiting, because that's holding us up. It's
yeah,
holding them up.
yeah, tell them we want to close it out. We want to pay them. This is all we're waiting on. I mean, they know, I'm sure, that it's not strictly speaking in the contract. But, if we just put in terms of, hey, we're asking for this one last thing, see if they
I mean,
give up.
those words are even in one of the emails that says, we know it's not part of the contract, but, it's something we would like to have. And so if they can't do it for some reason, or they don't want to, or they want to get paid for it, they should let us know that.
All right, Brian, you're going to make contact with them about this?
I'll do that.
Very good.
Okay.
Okay. All right, what else we got, Brian? Being you're up, I guess.
Okay. Marshville, nothing new with Marshville from my end. The joint use sewer project, Blake sent the letters to all the property owners for the easements, I believe last week. Blake, have you got any responses or to that, to your letters at all?
I haven't received a response, a phone call. I was going to ask if anybody called Cheryl or you. No, I have not received any.
Okay.
No, not
So-
really.
I haven't either. Okay.
I mean, it was Labor Day weekend. It was about 10 days ago, I guess, the letters went out.
Right now, everybody's still busy calling their lawyers.
Everybody's busy selling their house and their real estate. The heck with this little easement. My gosh.
So I guess game plan with that project, I guess we'll go through the process, wait, see what comes back as far as, acquiring those easements, and then we'd move, at that time, consider moving ahead towards getting the bid documents and stuff together, make sure make sure there's no problems or changes that we need to make any changes to the design or anything like that. And then I guess at that point, resume, communications with Aqua.
Not yet, but
No, I mean, after L&T, Aqua, whoever's still going to be our partner at the time.
Yeah, I mean, realistically, it's going to take a while to get through the easement acquisition process. We haven't even got responses yet, and God knows what those responses are going to be, and how long it's going to take to work out the easements. To Brian's point, God forbid that something just can't be worked out with somebody, or we have to make a change to the plans and design to work through an easement issue. So in the course of us doing that, presumably along the same timeline, Lower Makefield and Aqua are going to be working out that agreement to whatever resolution, so that, to Brian's point, when we finally get the all the easements signed and sealed, You know, we'll be in a position to know who we're dealing with on the other side, or Lower Makefield or Aqua will be in position, you know, that we can, you know, the authority can do whatever we feel we need to do as far as confirming with them that we're ready to go ahead to bids. Like Brian was saying, finalize the bid documents and put it out there.
Just in here, I'd recommend we keep Lower Makefield informed as to every step we take, including sending the easements out so that it's, you know, there's no question down the road that, oh, we didn't know we were doing that. Or so I would just keep them informed at every step.
I have a question for you, Blake. Is it even possible that we could get the money, the funds for these projects put in escrow, or so, you know, we're guaranteed it, so we don't have to go renegotiate with Aqua? Or do you think that's even possible or worthwhile pursuing?
You mean for Lower Makefield's obligations under
Yes.
the contract? Yeah, no, I was going to discuss this in my report, but you know, whoever, when this deal is done and sealed, and they own the system, they also own all the obligations. And I did talk to David Truelove, who's the solicitor for Lower Makefield. He's not the lawyer handling the sale for them, but he's involved kind of as a spectator. He said, you know, the bidders and now the purchaser, they're fully aware. I see a ship sinking there, Phil.
That's Lower Makefield sewer system.
Okay. All right. You know, they're fully aware of their obligation. So, you know, we're not going to have to renegotiate that. They can't walk away from it. It's part of the deal. And, you know, it's part of the sale, assets and obligations. So I think we just move ahead, keep Lower Makefield completely informed. And when Aqua becomes the owner, we keep them informed. And, you know, I don't think there should be any ripple as far as what their obligations are under the agreement.
Well, with that said, though, Blake, you're saying move forward, and of course, the next step is to get the rest of the easements in, hopefully approved and without major difficulty. But then the next step would be preparation of the documents. And if that is the case, excuse me, should we wait? Should we see how the storm is coming before we go ahead and prepare that stuff? Or would you, Brian and Alex, suggest go ahead and prepare the documents? It's not going to matter. You're going to do it anyway.
Are you talking about the construction documents?
Yes.
You mean, yeah. I mean, those can be prepared in certainly draft and shared with Lower Makefield. I didn't fully answer Carl's question. I don't think there's a mechanism in the agreement where we could require escrow of funds from Lower Makefield to, you know, cover their obligations. You know, that would have to be something that was negotiated with them. But I don't see why we don't move ahead, you know, as we normally would, prepare the construction documents, you know, even get to drafting the bid specs and bid documents, and you know, move ahead.
Just trying to look at avoiding, you know, trying to pry money out of this Aqua later. You know, I don't want to put out all our funds and then they don't come through for whatever, you know.
I think the contents of the transportation agreement basically supersede any possible clause that might be in there regarding an escrow account, because if they're not going to agree to what the agreement says, they're not going to agree and will not fulfill an escrow account anyway. So
Right.
if Lower Make or Aqua balk on this, we've got no choice asking somebody else to put money up for it. They're not going to do it. But I'm not anticipating that. I'm optimistic.
Well, to the point too, as far as security, I haven't reviewed the transportation agreement lately, but it does provide for, you know, for that, you know, payment process in it. But there's also, I believe, a trigger or stepping stone whereby, you know, when we get bids, before we sign contract construction where there's a sign off by the other party too. They have the right to sign off on the amount of the bids. And if it's not specifically provided in the transportation agreement, we could certainly, that could be something that we pursue. Right, Blake?
Yeah,
When
yeah,
it's
so
at that point of actually putting out to bid and we have a bid number that we're getting ready to act on in terms of an agreement.
yeah, we can seek their agreement at that time, and if somebody was going to balk at it, we know at the point before we went forward.
Before you sign your contract with your contractor, with your winning bidder. And then as far as the timing, we're talking about finishing contract documents. I mean, we got a 90+% there in terms of the plans and the specifications and that. We're talking mostly about just final stuff that we wouldn't recommend doing, to Brian's point, until we actually get the easements set and we know there's not going to be any kind of last minute changes. So, you know, we're pretty much there at that point of, you know, just that last little bit to do, which we would then suggest doing when we get the easement set.
And again, just like somebody mentioned earlier, that's not going to happen overnight. I mean, you know, 13 out there, there's always going to be a few that don't respond or don't work with us. It can take some time. So we're talking several months at the very least, and probably longer.
Well, I think this whole sale process is going to take, and I believe everybody else thinks the same way. It's not going to happen by next year, that's for sure. It's going to be a while, but I think we should continue to keep our nose to the grindstone, and Brian and Alex keep doing what they do. Blake keep on overseeing everything, and we just letting everybody know what we hear on the ground, and take small steps, but continue to make progress. Okay. Brian, you got anything else?
No, I don't have anything else tonight.
Okay. Anybody got any questions for Brian? With that said, Mr. Dunbar.
Yes, well, we pretty much covered everything in my report. I was mentioning one other thing in talking with David Truelove. I asked him, I said, you know, in your observations, were there any discussions about Yardley? And he said, no, not really, that he heard. Now, he's not the lawyer, he's the solicitor, he's sitting in on this stuff, but he said, no, there really wasn't much of, you know, that in his memory of what occurred, there really wasn't much discussion about what involvement or what part Yardley would or would not play in it. So according to him, it just really never came up. And I thought that was a little unusual. I said to him, I thought it was odd that it was that this went forward without any consideration of Yardley. He said, yeah, it does, you know, it does sound odd. So for what it's worth.
Yardley who?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, let's be fair. They're not necessarily going to come out and talk about Yardley in a meeting between Lower Makefield and Aqua and that. They're not, you know, going to start throwing cards on the table just for fun.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, that's right. Yeah.
And you know, Paul and I, before, you know, when they were setting up this meeting before you guys joined, we're talking. She, you know, right away she asked me, well, you know, okay, does that mean that they're going to come take Yardley's system? I said, well, first of all, they can't come take it. I said, but to be honest, we've been talking about it all along. If this goes through, which now it did, be surprised if Aqua doesn't put one and one together, if they haven't already, and say, hey, wait a minute, let's at least make these guys an offer. And I said, and one step beyond that, I'd be surprised if they don't do the same for Morrisville. You know, they're already looking to acquire systems, let alone systems which, you know, tie into systems that they now own that they're beholden to. So I'd still be surprised if, you know, but everybody expects these things to happen overnight. Oh my God, you know, they just did this deal. The Wolves are going to be at the door tomorrow. No, like Dave said, it's going to take time to consummate that deal. And then they'll make their way around to start, you know, trying to feel around probably to see if you guys are interested over time. So I would still be surprised if that doesn't happen. I just don't expect that to happen today or tomorrow.
This ain't the stock market.
Just for an example, Dave, with Royersford, it's now they're selling their sewer system to American, and we're now 1 year post signing the agreement. not just awarding it, just voting on it, and it still hasn't been completed. You know, PUC has to review it, and so it's going to take quite a bit of time.
All right. Anybody got anything for Blake?
That's all I have, unless you have any questions.
Mr. Smythe, good evening. How are you?
Aye.
You get anything to report on? Yep. Guess you had to put the dog away. While we're waiting for Phil to come back, Rich, you got anything for the group?
Nope, nothing at all.
Thomas?
No.
Carl?
No, I said everything about the tree and everything, so that's all I had.
And Michael?
Nope.
Okay. You're on, Phil. If you got anything about the fine tunings of the pump station.
My apologies. I didn't want you guys to have to listen to the dogs barking. I probably missed it because I was having trouble logging on again, but did you guys discuss the tree issue?
Yes, we did.
Okay, what was the final resolution?
We are going to, we're going to
Get a written quote from Bert, B&T Landscaping, to remove the remainder of the tree and trim off all the other trees that are, hanging down in the driveway. Just, whatever needs to be trimmed.
Yeah, just general cleanup.
Yeah, it's been a while.
Yeah. And I did catch the end of the what Brian was saying about the phone line. So that, I guess that explained all the crazy alarms that Cheryl was getting. Was that a yes?
To who? Cheryl?
Cheryl, yes.
Yeah, she said yes. Yeah, they were doing
Okay.
some testing and that.
Okay, sorry, I couldn't hear. Everything at the station is fine. No problems to report, thankfully. A couple of VFD trips, but that's nothing new. We're getting some water leaking in the back where the generator cabinet is again inside, and I'm not sure. I think it's related to the air conditioning system. So maybe we should have that thing serviced. I don't know who put it in, but I know with those mini splits, you're supposed to have them serviced, yearly or something like that. And I know we haven't had anything done to it since
On
they
what
installed it.
what unit, Phil?
The mini split HVAC system that we had
Water's
put in.
leaking in where?
We had this problem before. It's dripping inside the control room, and it drips. It was dripping into the generator cabinet before, but I put plastic in there now just in case it happened again because it shorted out the whole generator cabinet. I had to have the.
Is it the condensation line?
I'm not sure. I don't know. It's hard to tell. I even went up in the attic and looked, and I thought there may have been an issue with some roof penetration, but I'm not sure. But we probably ought to have the HVAC serviced anyway, and then maybe he can check the condensate line, make sure it's, it's not obstructed or anything. I mean, there is condensation outside making it out there, but I don't know if it's flowing freely.
Who does our HVAC work?
Whoever put it in, I think Rich may know who put it in. I'm not sure.
The Sweeney put that in?
Sweeney put it in, but isn't that a self-contained unit on the wall?
It's one of those mini splits.
Yeah,
It's
so
mounted to the back wall, right?
that should just have a condensate line coming out, and that just has to have a shop vac put on it if that's the problem. Otherwise, it's self-contained.
Okay.
Well, the refrigerant line goes through the wall. Maybe that's leaking.
Yeah, somebody was telling me something about they have squirrel cages inside of them, and they got to be taken apart and cleaned because of
They're very sensitive to dirt.
Yeah, something like that.
The
There's
filter has to be cleaned
on them we should
frequently.
clean, yes.
Okay.
That's
Well,
just,
I mean, I can take a look at it and see if it's something straightforward. I'll just take care of it.
yeah, just open the face of it and just,
Clean the
take
filter.
two nylon filters out, or depending upon the width, it might be only one. Put
Okay.
it in the slop sink, clean it off, and then, either take air and blow the condensate line out, or a shop vac and suck it out, and that should cure all ills with that thing.
Okay.
Phil, getting
Right.
back to the tree, what we discussed was that you and Carl and or Rich will get together to determine what trees need to be trimmed and everything, and let Carl's guy give us a written estimate inclusive of Ferkel's, the remainder of Ferkel's tree. And then we will discuss that estimate at the next meeting in October and go from there. I'm not in any hurry to rush to Mr. Ferkel's request to have this thing done ASAP.
Well, yeah, and I agree with, I guess it was Brian, a couple of you guys had said, I think last month, and when I was there looking at it, I trimmed some of the limbs off, and it became very clear that it was just over the property line. It's pretty clear when you look at it where the Gilmore put the stake for the corner. It's looks to me like it's pretty clearly on his side of the line.
Well, yeah, well, we had a discussion before you got on, and he's requested that we remove the rest of the tree, even though we still are under the impression it's his tree. But as Carl suggested, we need to have some of the trees around the station trimmed to make it look better.
Yeah.
So you, Carl, and Rich, if you can, get together and just say, this is what we want done. Carl's got to give us an estimate. We'll discuss the estimate next meeting and go from there. But we're not in any hurry to pacify Mr. Ferkel.
Got it. I think most of the tree trimming that we need is related to the driveway overhead.
Okay.
The other stuff, you know, probably the thicker the better because it gives us some screening from the neighbors.
Yeah,
And that's
just
all I have.
just trim up around the driveway in the building and.
Because when the big trucks come in, like the municipal maintenance and stuff, they bring a boom truck and stuff in. I mean, those limbs are every once in a while they got to be trimmed back up because they start to hang down. So yeah, if we can keep that canopy up a little higher, I think that's the main thing. The rest of it, we don't really have any other tree issues other than that, as far as I know. The other tree issues we used to have have been taken out. Either those trees were removed, or they died, or they've just been taken care of one way or the other over the years.
Okay.
Thank
That it,
you.
Phil?
Yes.
Thank you, sir. Before we move on to new business, Carol, do you have anything you want to share? I do chase her away. You're muted, hon.
Yeah, I'm good. No, I think I already brought it up.
Okay. Thank you. Cheryl, you got anything aside from your discussion on the new budget?
No.
Okay, just want to make sure we got everybody. Then you or I are up. I hope everyone had a chance to review the budget that was sent to us electronically last month. It's pretty much the same as before. I didn't see anything drastic to be overly concerned about. I'm not sure if anybody else did.
This is very small, but I did know that there was the computer costs was the same 1,500 as last year. Did we already purchase them? Do we still need to include it? It's small.
Well, like our actual computer costs for this year were high because we got 2 brand new computers and all.
No, I know. Oh, that's just a.
So that's so the like 1,500. Normally we wouldn't be spending that.
Yeah.
5,000.
Gotcha.
Normally,
Gotcha,
we put in the
gotcha.
budget every year, Michael, and never spend 1/3 of it.
Yeah. So
Gotcha.
I don't expect next year that, or for the next couple of years that we should be getting any new computers.
Totally gotcha. Yep. Makes sense.
Okay.
Okay. Any other discussion on the budget?
The budget is as proposed.
Seconded.
Motion's been made and properly seconded to approve the budget for next year for $2,284,300. Any other questions or comments on it? All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes unanimously. With that said, I will take a motion to adjourn.
Hang on.
Nope.
I did forget something. I need some checks signed.
Yes.
Ah, yes, you
I'm
do.
going to be out of the office tomorrow, so Carol's going to be there, and so she needs, we did the checks today, but we just need two people to sign.
What time will you be there tomorrow?
I can be very flexible, so if I get two people, tell me when you can do it. I'll work my hours around you.
All right, I'll send you an email.
I can't do it until after 12 noon.
Okay.
So
I mean, I'll be there then.
if you'll be there till 2, 3, or 4, I can stop in between, between 12 and 2. I'm heading out of town with the
All right,
checks.
I'll send you a note, Carol, when I'm coming.
Okay, good.
Okay?
If you have trouble, give me a call.
Anything else? Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second it.
Motion's been made. All those in favor say aye.
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 Motion passes unanimously. Everybody be safe. Take care of yourselves, and we'll talk next month.
All right.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Alex.
Bye.
Brian, Blake. Thank you, Phil.